Folks, I just wanted to pass on maybe my words of unwisdom, depending on how your thoughts are. But I'm sitting here, I'm looking at data that's been coming in over the past month and a half concerning this COVID-19 coronavirus thing. And I kind of want to go on the record because I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. There's only so much fear that we, as the American people, should take on and subscribe to. I don't subscribe to the fear that we're going to not be able to vote in November. I don't subscribe to the fear that we're not going to be able to go to the beach on the 4th of July and watch the fireworks. I subscribe to the fact that we as the American people will stand up and we will do what's necessary to get through this crisis. I just ask each and every one of you to think about this for a second. What is the risk of losing everything? Because I know we're working really hard in New York and Detroit and all that stuff. I'm so sad and saddened by the deaths of people because of this virus. But we've got to take a look at what the price is that we're paying by these draconian stay-home type of policies. I understand social distancing, totally agree with it. I understand wearing a face mask, totally agree with that. But what's the risk to what will keep our country going the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and that's the economy. Coronavirus won't even be a footnote in 45 years, but our economy could still be paying for it unless we get it up and running. I look at the models that we saw a month and a half ago, and I've had discussions, actually disputes, and almost gone to blows with people over, I don't believe the models. Back when it was 2 million to 2.5 million, I was actually ostracized by people in my profession for saying that I thought that the number was going to be less than 100,000, and that was about a month ago right now. Then the model went, about 10 days ago, they went to 250 to 100,000. And now we're dealing with a Washington model, and today is the 13th of April. The Washington model says we're going to be somewhere around 60,000. Well, my number was more like the 45 to 50,000 back a month and a half ago, just doing, normal high school dropout type of math. I came up with 45, 50,000 based on the amount of people that were affected and the death rates that we were seeing in Europe. Now, what's the cost of that? The cost of that is we basically shut down the best economy in the world. And the fear I have is that if we don't get it up and running, 25% of that economy, which is small businesses, mom and pops, tradesmen, craftsmen, stuff like that, they're not going to be able to reopen when it's all said and done. The other part that we don't take into account is we got to take a look at what all this sheltering and all this hiding underneath your bed, stay-at-home type of stuff's doing. Because in reality, if you take a look at what's happened over the past month and a half, the opioid abuse, our alcoholism, our child abuse and domestic abuse that goes along with that has been on the rise. And those numbers are factual. Those aren't numbers that we just sort of picked up like the 2 to 2.5 million. Our people here in America, they want to work. Everybody wants to go to work. There's a respect issue to, hey, what do you do? I work. Okay, that's the way that I was brought up. And people want to get back to work. Now, there's a certain portion of the population that is at risk, okay? It's old folks like me, I've had heart attacks, stuff like that. So I'm one of the people that's at risk. So I'm talking about, let's get this economy going. I got a dog in this fight. I'm one of the people that could pick up COVID. But the thing about it is I look at the best as far as the country goes, and I see that we need to get this thing up and running. I think that we can both work here in the United States, as well as target areas that need to be targeted. And right now, we all know New York, Detroit, those are the areas that need to be targeted. Warren Center, Pennsylvania is not New York City. Colonial Beach, Virginia is not Detroit. So I submit that there's a segregation that could take place here that could help us get over these problems. Now, at the same time, we want to be able to respond to the hot spots with everything that we can bring to bear. We also need to look for cures, okay? Does this malaria drug work? Are we going to get a vaccine? And give us some time frames on this vaccine that's real. I heard over the weekend on NPR it's going to be 6 months. And now I hear other people today going 18 months, probably really 3 years. But I do know one thing. If we don't keep this economy running, we're not going to be in good shape as a nation for decades to come. We have to think about the health part of it, the well-being part of it, and happiness that come out of being able to go to work, being able to do things that we do on a daily basis. I feel that we are hunkering down, that we are becoming those people, that we are thinking, oh, let's go hide underneath our bed because the boogeyman corona COVID-19 virus is out there. Well, let me tell you something. 61,000 people died from the regular flu in 2017 and 2018, and that's terrible. This is going to come in somewhere around that 60,000 number. So we've totally shut down our economy, or shut down major portions of our economy, and putting our country into a danger position as far as not just recession, but depression goes in the long run because of a virus that sadly killed 60,000 people, but is comparable to other things that we have around. I think that we ought to protect the most vulnerable. Okay, so people that are like 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, you don't need to be out in the ABC store. You don't need to be out in the club. You don't need to be out doing things that you don't need to be doing. Put on your mask, go get your groceries, do what you got to do. They've given us special times as far as 7 to 8 o'clock or 8 to 9 o'clock at certain retailers and stuff like that. And we need to pay particular attention and put resources toward hotspots. I don't think that stay home everywhere is a good thing. I do think that social distancing is good. So for that fact, I give Dr. Fauci, thumbs up on that. Some of his statements of late, though, have sort of been like, oh, I don't think that we can vote in November and stuff like that. I don't think that that's meeting the mail on what our nation needs to hear or what our nation needs to do. There may be parts of our country that cannot vote in November. That may happen. I kind of doubt it, but that may happen. And I'm glad I'm on a record saying that right now. But the thing about it is, we need to get this thing up and running. Social distancing is fine. Masks are fine. Now let's think about something. One of the major issues that this happens is because as I speak, particles fly out of my mouth, or as I sneeze and stuff like that. Just normal personal etiquette's going to help a lot. Wash your hands. How many times do you have to get told? Or think about it. Don't be a dirtbag, okay? Clean your house. Clean yourself up. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Be a good little boy, be a good little girl, and get back to work. Thanks for listening.